Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Okay, so today I'm just going to give you a quick video on some new news that just came out of Australia. Like recently, I've done videos on PFAS, these toxic chemicals that are in plastics and a lot of products, including your skincare and some foods. Okay. A recent news story actually just came out today. It's about 14,000 of these PFA chemicals that were found in Australia's drinking water in every single state that are known carcinogens. And as you'll see in this clip, it's not just the drinking water, and it's not just fluoride that's the problem. It's, there's so many problems that we need to try and limit our exposure to. It's impossible to get it down to zero, obviously, but as much as possible. So let's have a look at this news clip from today.
Well, drinking water across parts of Australia has been found to contain dangerous cancer-causing chemicals. The contaminants were found in every state across the country, with hotspots in New South Wales and Queensland. Joining us for more is Dr. Marion Lloyd-Smith, live from Ballina. Dr. Marion, thanks so much for your time this morning. This is pretty alarming. We're talking about tap water here. I mean, something we all consume every day. So just how dangerous are the chemicals currently allowed in our tap water?
They're a very nasty group of chemicals. There's about 14,000 PFAS chemicals, different ones for different uses. But what we know is they're linked to kidney and liver disease, dysregulation of our thyroid and insulin, reproductive problems, developmental problems in children, and of course cancer. And the makers of these chemicals have had to pay out many millions of dollars in the US to people who have been exposed and have suffered cancer. Unbelievably, though, our regulatory agencies here in Australia just dismiss all of this evidence and say that there's no clear evidence that they cause disease, which honestly is beyond belief. So we are talking about a very nasty group, which are also bioaccumulative. They build up in our bodies. Women pass them on to their children. They're transboundary. They volatilize into the air and disappear into a different country that may never have used them. So they really are a horrible bunch.
I mean, Doc, hearing you talk about it in such a way is troubling in the sense that, I mean, how much do you actually have to consume it? Because you look around you right now, everyone seems to be okay currently consuming this water. What are we talking about here in terms of who it's affecting and how?
I understand this idiot reporter. How is this affecting you, people around you? Because looking at people around you, they all seem to be okay. Wow.
How much you actually have to consume before it's impacting you?
We literally don't know that fact. And even though there's been so much work over the last 20 years on PFAS chemicals in assessment, both at UN level and in the US, we don't know exactly how much will cause disease. And the problem is, because they're bioaccumulative, every exposure just builds up a little bit more in your body. And so I can't say this amount will cause this disease. What we can say is the US regulatory authorities have said clearly that they do not think there is a safe level of exposure. And once a regulatory agency says that, you really alert, every alarm bell. Basically what they're saying is you need to reduce your exposure to as close to zero as you possibly can. And we know how hard that is, but it is still something we need to do.
Sorry, just to get an understanding of what that actually means. I mean, are we talking about not drinking tap water because bottled water is bad for you as well? We're talking about not having baths. I mean, where do you draw the line?
Well, unfortunately, water is only one aspect of our exposure. Our exposure also comes through food. It comes through all the personal products that PFAS are involved in and all the industrial products that we may use a day that are made with PFAS. So I know it sounds ridiculous to say how we can reduce our exposure to zero, but what we need to do is try. And what we also need to do is see a government that gets these chemicals out of the commercial world. there is no reason to have 14,000 of these highly toxic, highly persistent chemicals.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hope that, no, that's okay. Let's hope that that review surely is underway because, as you said, it's happened in the US. It needs to happen here now. Marion, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
New revelations this morning. Tap water right across Australia has been found to contain toxic carcinogens. Let's go live to Federal Politics reporter Amanda Kopp. Amanda, good morning. Almost 1.8 million Australians have been impacted.
They're just talking about the water, obviously, but like the good doctor just mentioned, that these PFAS chemicals are in everything at the moment. All your processed foods, especially, and your processed health, like skincare products and things like that as well. But limiting your exposure to them as much as possible, living as natural as possible, is going to be. I mean, you are still going to have some exposure, but you need to limit your exposure as much as possible anyway. One way you can, as we've spoken about before, is in regards to your drinking water, is a reverse osmosis water filtration system. Make sure that your water is filtered. But these PFAS these chemicals, they can't be killed. They are like almost impossible to kill these chemicals. So reverse osmosis is probably the best thing you can do. Collect rainwater if you can. Even PFAS have been found in rainwater as well. So even that would need filtering as well. So these are things that you need to think about when you're trying to limit your exposure to these chemicals. Okay. But again, they are in many other products that you might use, like even toiletries and things like that. So,
since 2010.
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. It's some pretty disturbing news out this morning. Tap water across parts of Sydney, Newcastle, Canberra, Victoria, Queensland and Rottnest Island have been found with chemicals that are likely to be carcinogenic, according to reports in the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. The chemicals in question are called PFAS or PFAS. They're used in things like non-stick frying pans and food packaging. They're also a very good fire retardant. So often the way that bigger amounts have ended up in our water systems is because it's used in firefighting drills or defence training. However, US authorities say there's no safe level of exposure, and Australians are more at risk of being exposed because these chemicals are allowed in Australian drinking water at 140 times the level that's allowed in America. There are now calls for there to be widespread water testing across Australia, and we'll have to see whether our politicians respond. Sarah?
So there you go. There are 140 times higher concentration in Australia is allowed by our government than in America, where these companies like DuPont and others have been fined, almost $1 billion in the past. Actually, the last PFA videos, Dr. Berry was saying they were fined about $850 million or something, which obviously means that these are a problem. And the Australian government is doing absolutely nothing about the dumping of these chemicals in our water, or the contamination of these chemicals in our water, and also everything else that, as we were saying, that these are in many processed things, including your packaging, food packages, healthcare, skincare products, and all these other things. So just be careful of what you are ingesting and also putting onto your skin, and what your food is packaged in as well. So like I said, you can't get these things down. You're not going to get this down to zero exposure, but you can limit your exposure. A reverse osmosis water filter would help, obviously, even if you are on collecting water like rainwater, because these chemicals have been found in your rainwater as well. All right, guys, so just a bit of a heads up, and I'll see you soon. Have a great day.